Well, it's hard not to be very optimistic about precious metals prices. My first question whenever someone asks me about silver and gold prices or precious metal prices is, where do you think the U.S. dollar is going? I think if anyone believes there's any long-term value potential in the U.S. dollar, I'm not sure where they're getting that basis from. We just don't see it. The fundamentals really point towards good, strong precious metals prices for quite a period.
Well, hello and welcome to Assay TV. Today we're talking with Randy Smallwood, who is the President and CEO of Wheaton Precious Metals and recently elected as Chair of the World Gold Council. Randy, great to see you today. Tell us,
Always a
how
pleasure.
has 2020 been?
2020, well, what a year. 2020 started out very good for us, and it has been a relatively good year. We've got good, strong organic growth in our company. A lot of our partners are growing and expanding their projects. We've got new zones coming on. We've got expansions coming into place. So 2020 was shaping up to be a very good year, and then this little thing called the pandemic kind of hit over the world. Now, on a relative basis, we've actually done relatively well. We had, for about a 2-month period, we had 6 different operations that were suspended, 3 in Mexico and 3 in Peru. But they are happy to report that they are up and running again at full speed, along with all of our other assets. We've had a few, sort of higher absenteeism rates that have sort of had a bit of an impact, but even that seems to be pretty well managed now. We just came out with updated guidance that dropped our overall production for the year by 5%. And I think if you look around the mining space, we did very well on that relative to a lot of our peers and a lot of the other mining companies to be only down 5%. So updated guidance is 670,000 ounces of gold production this year. We've got of gold equivalent production, I should highlight, the most of it gold, but a healthy dose of silver also. Happy to report that even with that drop, we've still maintained our 5-year guidance of 750,000 ounces of gold equivalent production for the next 5 years, counting this year. Again, it just highlights the strength that we're seeing in all of our projects around. We've got a few other, other projects that are just a good reinvestment program all the way across the board.
Because a lot of your projects are in countries like sort of Mexico and Brazil and places like that, which have been very sort of quite badly hit by the pandemic, but you've managed to keep operations running.
Yes, no, it's and I wouldn't say we've managed to keep operations running. That's the one of the perspectives of the streaming company is we don't actually manage these operations, but our partners have managed to keep these operations running. And in reality, I mean, one of the advantages of the mining industry is that when you have remote locations, you can really put in some strict controls to manage the risks associated with that. You cut down a lot of transient visits, you cut down non-essential staff transfers, and you just really focus on minimizing that risk and get in some good physical distancing and other protocols in place. And so far to date, we've had good success. Even though we did have the 6 mines suspended, it was a government mandate to suspend operations. The sites themselves we're doing relatively well from that perspective. So as I said, happy to report that everyone's up and running at full speed again.
And of course, you've been helped by the gold price and the silver price this year. What's your take on where that's going to go next?
Well, it's hard not to be very optimistic about precious metals prices. My first question whenever someone asks me about silver and gold prices or precious metal prices is, where do you think the U.S. dollar is going? I think if anyone believes there's any long-term value potential in the U.S. dollar, I'm not sure where they're getting that basis from. We just don't see it. The fundamentals really point towards good, strong precious metals prices for quite a period to come. We have not seen the full economic impact of this entire pandemic and the shutdown. I walked the streets here in Vancouver, Canada, and the number of businesses that are shutting down, number of restaurants that are shutting down, the lack of a tourism industry that this city was very dependent on. There is some broader impacts still working their way through the system here that again, I hate to say it, but it sure makes me feel good about gold and silver prices.
But when do you expect the impacts of these sort of shutdowns to start to show themselves in the market?
Well, I think they are gradually showing themselves in the market already. And that's one of the reasons why we've seen such strong precious metals prices. and you can look at the amount of stimulus that's going to be required, or for lack of a better word, helicopter money that's going to be required to kickstart economies around the world. Here in North America, we're starting to go through our second wave of this pandemic, of the COVID-19 virus, and I'm just, we see again increased limits on trying to restart economies and stuff like that. We've seen impacts in Europe also. So this is still building in terms of the full economic impact.
Mm. To change the subject a bit, you're planning to list on the London Stock Exchange. Tell us a little bit about your plans there.
Well, it's London just felt like a natural second home for us, or third home for us, I should say. We originally listed in the Toronto Stock Exchange 16 years ago, and shortly after that, a couple of years later, expanded into the New York Stock Exchange. So we've been pretty happy there, and in fact, the bulk of our stock does trade on the New York Stock Exchange, even though we're a Canadian-based company. Probably 65-70% of our stock trades on the New York Stock Exchange. But we've got a lot of investors based in London, and in fact, there's a lot of funds over there that require, or just makes it easier for them to invest in you if you're LSE listed. And if you sit back and look, as a streaming company, we are much different than a mining company. Our risk profile is much lower than a traditional mining company. So we're not there to replace the Randgolds and the other mining companies that haven't that aren't on the LSE. We're there to provide a new business model to LSE-based investors, and that is the streaming business model, which has such low risk profile that I would say comparable to investing into bullion, but we deliver a yield and we have organic growth, and it delivers all the upside of a traditional mining investment in terms of exploration success and expansion potential, and obviously the commodity exposure. But we don't have the cost risks that a traditional mining company has. And so this business model has just got plenty of interest. And I can tell you, I've had enough 5 a.m. wake-up calls trying to work London time here in Vancouver. There is a lot of interest in us listing on the LSE. So it looks like I'm actually quite excited about it. It's going to take us about another month and a half to go through the full process here and satisfy all the regulatory requirements, but I really do look forward to getting listed on the LSE. It's just a natural second home. We like to think of ourselves as a global company, and I think this is just another step in achieving that global status.
So you hope to get that done by the end of this year?
Oh, definitely. I'm hoping by the end of November.
So, I mean, a question that's often asked at the moment, I guess, is how are you doing deals? I mean, if you can't get out to get boots on the ground to look at new projects due to travel restrictions, how are deals getting done?
Well, there are certain areas that we can get boots on the ground, and there's other avenues. To be honest, most due diligence takes place on the computer nowadays. It's a matter of getting the digital data and working your way through the raw data and seeing if you can come up to similar conclusions that the operators have, or the project developers have. And ideally you're close when you come to your final answer. So in reality, the bulk of the risk is taken out during that, and really site due diligence or site visits for due diligence is more confirmatory in nature in terms of trying to get comfortable with stuff. So there are a number of different means out there, and it all depends on the jurisdiction, and it is a very lively fluid environment with respect to what some of those restrictions are. And so it is still a busy time for us. We've got lots of opportunities that we're working our way through. I've had people comment about the fact that with higher gold and silver prices, you must not be seeing as much opportunity because companies are doing well on the cash flow side. But what people are forgetting is that we as a streaming company, the bulk of our precious metals actually comes from base metal mines, and we're just not seeing the same level of support from that. And in fact, what we're seeing is with these higher precious metal prices, those base metal companies are more interested in crystallizing the value of their non-core precious metals byproduct. And so again, we're busy on that front. We've got a couple of good-sized opportunities in front of us, and when it comes to the actual due diligence itself, we still give it a good shake through from a digital side or a computer side, and then look at what we can do to get comfortable with respect to a site visit. It's something that I'm having a tough time with, and I sure look forward to getting back to doing site visits. As a geologist at heart, I love getting my hands dirty. So we'll find a way to make it work.
And recently, you've been elected as chair of the World Gold Council. Congratulations on that. What do you hope to achieve in that role?
Well, I can tell you that I'm taking over from Kelvin Dushnitsky and before him David Harkwell, in the last 3-4 years we've actually made a lot of progress in the World Gold Council. Probably the crowning achievement was the release and the commitment of all the members of the World Gold Council to the responsible gold mining principles. And so the implementation of that, each of us as members has a period of time to sort of make sure that we're compliant or exceeding the minimum requirements of the responsible gold mining principles in terms of responsibly delivering sustainable benefits to all of our stakeholders. That's our neighbors, that's our communities, that's our shareholders, that's it's the entire spectrum, our employees, our staff. We just have to make sure that we get these commitments brought in, and so it's it's all a matter of about improving that. I wouldn't say it's improving in performance. It's more about improving disclosure about all the good things that the mining industry does. And so as we continue advancing that mandate, it allows us as an industry to have a cleaner record and hopefully progress in terms of bringing in some good, strong investment support.
Fantastic. And of course, sort of ESG is so important for investors these days. You want to make sure that all your companies are complying with all of that. What are some of the criteria that you're looking to get them to do?
Well, it just comes down to making sure that you are committing to sustainable practices and leaving long-term positive benefits to the communities and the neighbors that we have, especially in these, again, with the mining industry, we have an advantage as an industry in the sense that we can deliver good, long-term, strong, positive benefits to remote communities, to remote jurisdictions, which quite often around the world are the communities that suffer the most, that have lower standards of living. And so it's a matter of just taking that advantage, that opportunity we have, and being able to deliver some of those benefits back so that you can help a lot of these areas improve their standard of living, improve the education levels and overall confidence levels in terms of being able to move forward. And just really what it comes down to is just higher standards of living across these communities.
Fantastic. Well, you've got a busy year ahead with the listing and obviously all your work on the World Gold Council. I wish you the best of luck for that. But thank you very much for joining us today.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.